Good afternoon and welcome to Talking Bollocks Part 62. Sorry I'm a bit late. We've had a weirdly busy day today. So yeah, just been what have I done today? Hang on, let's do the thing. So it's Friday, May 29th and it's 6:20. So what have we done today? So I took the daughter to work today because they're getting ready to open in a few weeks' time. And then I picked her up later on. I'll tell you about the middle bit in a minute. Picked her up later on, and when I picked her up, I took the big dog and the small dog with me, and she groomed the bigger dog because the shop shuts and no one else was there. So Tallulah was desperate for a groom. And Imogen has done an amazing job on her. I've got to say, I have all respect for groomers and hairdressers because I can't stand the feel of lots of hair on me. So like when I used to have my hair done, because I don't do anything with it at the moment, when I used to do my hair, I used to come home and shower my body straight away because I can't stand the feel of hair. Yeah, it's really weird that because I don't mind other things, but the feeling of hair, especially when it's hot as well. But anyway, so that was cool. And then in the continuing saga of the shit that's going on with my eye was stuck together this morning, and even though it's not conjunctivitis, because there's so much stuff coming out of it because of the stye, the eye has stuck together. So after I dropped her off at work, I went to the pharmacist, spoke to the chemist, and she was like, oh, it doesn't look too clever. So then so I phoned up Moorfields, who gave me a number to phone another number, for them to pass it on to another number, for somebody else to triage me. I ended up basically having a video phone call with a doctor at Moorfields Eye Hospital in East London, I think this one was. So, yeah, it was a matter of, it was a bit of faffing about, mostly because I think you're not used to it. But actually, it was pretty fast. Once sort of doctor spoke to me, so he said carry on for another week with the warm compresses, as like every hour, as many as you can, and if it gets any more swollen, it is a course of antibiotics. He said it didn't look infected, but it's on its way there if it doesn't get dealt with, and it still looks really horrible. It's like, look, it's like a mutant eye. See, my poor eye. And no, I haven't got makeup on. Technically I've got makeup on, but it's tattooed makeup. So I always have the green eyeliner on. Yeah, so God, it's so irritating. And I get like stuff floating past my eye, but also because my eyelid's really swollen. Yeah, it's uncomfortable. But anyway, so on the way back from picking up my daughter, we went to the chemist and I got some. Well, it was sort of supposed to be an ointment, but they've given her the wrong thing. But I've been using it anyway. It's an eye drop, and it's normally for conjunctivitis, but I think it's just to stop any more infection going on. Can't really mess around with the eyes, though. But it's much nicer when I'm not sort of concentrating on something. So I've found it a bit difficult to read the last few days. Yeah, it's Frock Up Friday, or Frock on Friday, or whatever it's called. So this is my frock today. It's kind of like a weird concoction. It's the first time I've worn it, and I'm not sure I like it. I like the colours, but I'm not sure about the fit. But we'll see whether I wear it again after lockdown has finished. Because it's a fairly new dress, so it hasn't had a chance to have an outing. It does have pockets, though, and pockets are also so important. Yeah, in the back of my head, there's this really important conversation that I want to have about what's going on in America at the moment. And I just don't know what words to choose regarding the whole shitstorm that is the black people being killed in America by cops or by other people. It's so fucked up. And it's hard to believe when most of the time, I guess a lot of us live in bubbles where things are all right. But I also live in the bubble knowing that I'm white. And as much as I've had a bit of a shit life now and again, my understanding is that even though I've had a bit of a traumatic and shit life in places, I still have that white privilege, and it's hard to get my head round. And it's hard to get my head round, not because I don't believe it doesn't happen. It clearly has. And I completely understand why Minneapolis is kicking off right now. I mean, to go out and fear for your life every time a police officer pulls you over, or a white woman like Amy Cooper, you know, you're out bird watching and you ask her to put your dog on the lead and she kicks off. You just think, where in these overprivileged white people's heads have they thought that their behaviour is okay? And it's a deep and a long-standing subject, but I do know one thing: it's got to fucking stop. Like, this fucking racism shit, it's shit. It really, really is. The violence towards black people and people of colour, non-white people, it's fucked up. I am going to write a list of things that I've read and sort of sing about, but I just wanted to touch on it today because I don't know how it can get better. I know it's got to stop, and I don't know, is it very different in America than here? Is it that we don't call those things here? You know, when people have had stuff happen here, is that through colour? And I'm thinking it probably is. But being white brings a lot of privileges, and I understand that. And privilege, I think there is a misunderstanding around this word. It doesn't mean that you haven't had difficulty in your life. It's where you start off at is different. And we need to check our privileges. You know, we need to, and absolutely should, check our privileges. It's such a big thing. I can't imagine how I would feel every time my 23-year-old son steps out the house if I was a black mother with a black son, knowing that the chances of him being stopped and searched are a lot higher, that the chances of him being shot if we're in America are a lot higher. And I can't imagine, and I've watched quite a few videos of people showing what's been going on, you know, and I certainly do think that the way we bring it into our everyday lives is we make sure that we stick up for those when we hear or see something. Every time without fail. I remember some time ago, I was on the tram going into Central Croydon, and there was a bunch of different, you know, kids on there, just come out of school, and I'm sort of half listening to this conversation, and they're having a sort of semi-serious, just cussing sort of thing going on between some of the kids. They obviously all know each other, and I'm sort of keeping an ear out. I'm with one of my kids, and I hear one of the kids say, "You're a coolie." And no one reacts and no one says anything, and I'm like, fuck, that's fucking racist. And it's a very old term. It was for people that were working on railways, and they were basically indentured slaves. So a coolie was a put down for indentured slave. I haven't heard it for years, so I don't know where this kid had heard it. Or maybe it sort of seeped in his conscious. Maybe he'd watched something from a long time ago. And I sat there thinking, do I want to get into this? Do I want to potentially kick something off on the tram? And this kid was a white boy of around 12, 13 years old. And I looked at my son and I thought, if he said something, I hope he wouldn't, but if he said something like this, that maybe he doesn't even understand what he's saying, because I had to double check what coolie meant. And it is a racist term. It's not been around for a really long time. Or it's not used commonly here anyway. And if my son said something on a tram in front of other kids and other kids of colour, then I would absolutely want another fucking adult to step in and say that's not all right. So I just said to the boy, what did you just say? And he was like, I don't know. And I was like, well, I know because I heard it and you said it, so you must know what you said. And he said very quietly, he said coolly under his breath, and I was like, do you know what it means? And he went, no. And I was like, do you know that it's a racial slur? And he said, what? And I was like, no, when you say it, you're being racist. It's a racist slur, and as a white boy, it shouldn't come out your mouth. And in fact, let's go with no one say it. It's a racist slur. It's not very nice. I said to him, would you say the N-word? And he was like, oh my God, no. And I was like, well, this is not quite the same, but it's a similar word. And it is an old word. I don't know how this kid knew it. And I think it's only of particular parts of the country that used to say it. And so there's white kids on there. There's some kids of Pakistani or Indian descent on there. There's some black kids on there. And there's a whole mixture of kids on there. And I'm like, look, mate, you are a white South London boy growing up in a multicultural society. Regardless of where you are in the world, that's a racist slur and you shouldn't say it. I suggest that you actually go and Google it when you get home and you educate yourself by what you're saying. I didn't mean it. And there was some, there was two black girls on there that was like, you got owned by the woman. And I didn't want to own him, but I did want to pull him up, and I did want to say, I kind of wanted the chance as well to have a discussion with him about a discussion with all of the kids and all of the people listening about how important it is to do this, to pull people up. I didn't want to embarrass him, because often embarrassment leads to anger and bitterness. I wanted to say to him, look, if you don't know what you're saying, why are you saying it? And if you do know what you're saying, don't say it. Why are you saying it? He didn't look particularly embarrassed, but you don't know what people take into themselves. I just wanted to educate everybody on the tram and make the point that I'm white and I'm pulling up another white person on them saying something racist. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know if this kid knew what he was saying or he knew the connotations of what he was saying. But I do think that the other kids that weren't white really understood what I was saying. That, if you don't know what it is that you're calling somebody, then you need to educate yourself on where these words come from and why these words are a slur. And I said to him, you wouldn't say the N-word, would you? And he was like, God, no. I was like, well, this is a similar, if not different, a similar word. So don't say words that you don't know the meaning of. And you know that words have great power. I think it's bullshit that whole rhyme of sticks or stones don't break our bones. They might not break our bones, but they break our brains. Bad words that have slurs break our brains. They do things inside our brains that make us bitter or angry, and we believe, even if we don't believe, there's some part of the inside of us that takes these words to heart. So I've been horrified watching the news and disgusted that a police officer, particularly the one that was with his, the police officer that had his knee on the neck, showed such a disregard and disrespect for another human's life and had his hands in his pockets. I was just, how does this person get to the stage where he treats another human being with such disrespect and such clear lack of humanity? And I think most of the time these people are uneducated, or if they're not uneducated, they're ignorant. And if they're not ignorant, then they're angry and they're bitter and they're twisted. And I do think, like I said before, that it's each one of our responsibilities, especially if you're white, to put on our big girl knickers, and when something is happening, when something is going on, to fucking say something. There are loads of lovely videos out there that show how to deal with something when something racist is happening. Like, you don't put your, like, one small example is you don't put your focus on the person that's being racist. You put your focus and you talk to the person that is the person that has been verbally attacked. And I do think there are, you know, ways that things can be de-escalated. And report the fuckers. Report anybody all the time that makes a racist slur. The more they're reported, the more I hope that something gets done, or at least, at the very, very least, when I was talking to that boy on the tram, I hope he went home and educated himself by what he was saying. But I also hope that the other kids on the tram were hearing that somebody would stick up for them. An adult would stick up for them, and who knows? Hopefully they went away thinking, fuck, yeah, someone sticks up for us. And this is what we should all be doing. And, yeah. Anyway, it kind of got serious. I will talk about it another time, because I really think it's a really fucking important subject. Yeah. And there is a piece of writing that I found about privilege and what it actually means. And why people get so upset when you say privilege, because they think, I think a lot of the time, that you're going to take some of their cake. And what they don't realise is it's making the cake fair for everybody. Because everybody might start with cake, but those cakes look very different. That sounds a bit of a weird analogy if you haven't listened to the rest of today. Anyway, hope you have a lovely Friday evening, guys. And I will catch you on the flip side for part 63. I will let you all know when I decide to not do this anymore, and yeah, but not quite yet. I think I'm not quite ready to let it go. All right, guys, have a good Friday. See you later.